when it comes to the end of the year, there's going to be a little bit of an internal battle with me. Is ShadowDark going to replace Warhammer Fantasy Roleplaying as my #1 book game of all time? Adventures like this that I'm about to review today really don't help. So what I'm looking at today is Bloodstones, the Tower, which is a grimdark, ShadowDark adventure for 1st to 2nd level characters. But it's taken a classic sort of 1980, I think 1987 campaign for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplaying, and they've wrapped it to make it into ShadowDark. It's going to be 5 parts, like the original Warhammer book itself. This is not going to help me, I don't think. Well, it's not going to help probably Warhammer staying at #1. That's right. But before we get into that, let me just show you the book itself and where you can pick it up. Here we have Bloodstones, the Tower. It's available on WFRP. It's available. Good news for other people, because I know people want print-on-demand stuff, so you can get it as PDF, you can get it in soft and hardback cover, and currently there is a bit of deals on where, obviously, if you sort of get it. So hopefully that will still exist by the time you get it. I've ordered this in the softback cover, so that is, I've got a physical copy incoming, because spoilers, do intend to run this. If you're one of my players, you can't watch anymore, because, well, you can watch a little bit, probably, and then I'll tell you when to get out. If you are anyone else and you're going to stick around, or any of my players, actually no, because my players can't buy this. Anyone else, if you are considering picking this up, please do use my affiliate link. I did pay for this, so it just helps me put a bit more money back into the channel to keep doing reviews like this. So here we've got Bloodstones, the Tower, so a grim, perilous, ShadowDark adventure for 1st to 2nd level characters. It's written by, this is stressing me now, legend of, I think it's Taluk. It might be Talik, but I'm not sure. If you're the writer, please let me know how to pronounce it, because I've picked up a couple more of your books, and based on this alone, I might be going into a few more, so it'd be nice to pronounce it correctly. This is a 54-page adventure, and it says here, this adventure was originally written in 1987 for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplaying 1st edition. It's been proudly adapted to ShadowDark. So the first 2 are collecting stones, so there are 10 remaining stones to collect, so 12 across, and they are magical stones that do a variety of different things. And this was originally called the Doomstone campaign, and if you've ever played it, I started playing it and we never actually got it finished. So the good thing is, this is all new and fresh to me, because, well, I can't remember a lot of things I did in 1987, in all fairness. So I'll take you through the adventure when we get to it. So let's just do that now. Let's just jump straight over to the front of the book and see what's included. The first thing you're going to notice when we get over, this isn't your standard ShadowDark front cover. This is colour in it for a start, but I think it's spot on theme for Warhammer ShadowDark adventure. There's going to be elements of this as I go through it that I think may or may not put off traditional ShadowDark games masters, because of the way the book is laid out and ran. It reads and plays like a Warhammer Fantasy Roleplaying adventure, which for me is great. I think traditional ShadowDark games masters may just, well, it's a very different stance to how a book is written and presented. I like it. I'm used to it. I think you should get used to it because it's worthwhile doing. So at the top of the book, you also get this handout PDFs. Oh, if you are a player, go. Let's just scroll back quickly. But before I look at it, if you are a player, now's your time to get out, because there will be some spoilers here. It's mainly mild spoilers. I'm not a big fan of spoiling the adventure entirely, but because you will see some maps and an idea of what's going on, I said that there'll be spoilers here. So if you want your games master to pick this up, direct them to this video, stop watching. If you're a games master, or if you want to become a games master in ShadowDark, or you're Warhammer Fantasy Roleplaying games master that wants to consider moving to ShadowDark, this is a great place to start. It does come with a handout, which is really nice. The handout is 11 pages, and it basically covers a handout that the players are given, because this is what Warhammer does. Warhammer likes its handouts. You've then got a map of a harbour, and then we're going to get the actual tower, which is towards the end of the adventure, the maps of each of the floors, and then is it asymmetric view of the tower? So the basement, the first floor, second floor, third, fourth, and fifth floor. So as I say, that does contain a fair bit of spoilers in here. But let's just get back to the book then. So front cover, spot on. Really Warhammer, ShadowDark crossover. So let's just jump straight into the book now. Inside cover, this details the legend behind the 12 stones, how they were sort of created. Okay, so it's a bit Lord of the Ringsy, but we'll say you'll discover that for yourself. The right-hand page here talks about the Bloodstones, the Tower, part 1 and 2, which is kind of strange because there is no sort of divide in this book to, I think you kind of work out where it is, but it doesn't clearly say, so I'm not sure why this isn't part 1, but if that's the worst thing I can find, it's all good. So here we got the layout of maps designed by Glenn Stark here, okay? And then we'll just turn over, and some of the artwork, and who created the artwork is down here on the left-hand side. And then the right-hand side, we've got the introduction. So this adventure serves as the starting point for the Bloodstones campaign, introducing the 2 stones in parts 1 and 2. The location of the remaining 10 stones are in 3 to 12, so we've got 10 more parts to this. I'm going to guess, so it's going to be 5 books in total, like the original adventure sort of campaign was set. Just talk about, again, back 1987, the first part was created for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 1st edition, and obviously they're converting the whole thing for ShadowDark, but putting their own spin on it. It then gets into the story of the 2 young apprentices that 125 years ago found the stones. They became sort of lifelong friends. Things happen into the modern day where your players are then in a town, and could be any town. So I'm trying not to sort of spoil what really goes on because you kind of want to discover it for yourself. But it says that the players can be in any town. But one thing this book does that, say, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplaying Games Masters are going to like this. It's quite descriptive, and there's quite a lot of text in here. I didn't find it too hard to read. It's laid out well. The font used is nice, so it's not like an anti-dyslexic book. Say it's all done well, but it is quite wordy, and it's obvious that this is converted to ShadowDark, not written for ShadowDark, if that makes sense, because of the way ShadowDark adventures are written. But it starts off with a pickpocket actually putting a letter into the player's pocket, and that then is the handout that you're seeing, which asks them to go and meet someone on a dock. As they get to the dock, you players have got a map here. Hold on, let me just change this into get rid of cover. And where there's a map, there's a combat. Okay, so it does say that he lives in Dock 13, so in the top right-hand corner here, this is where it is, but it's a little bit of a rundown part. And then they will meet this old man Perkins, who will tell them about what's going on and the 12 stones that are around. He used to have one of them. He doesn't anymore. He tells you where these 2 should be and offers them money to go and sort of retrieve them and help. Players should agree because, you know, they're heroes. What do? As they then leave, they will be attacked by some thieves. And this, I thought, was either clever marketing or a little bit frustrating. So the random thieves that turn up have got a backstory, but it does say here, see adventure in the Den of Madness here. Okay, so that isn't anything to do with this, but it does cover the backstory of why the thieves are attacking them. And so you then need to go back to WFRP, and then you will pick up this Den of Madness, which is a crawler level 4 to 6. So it's a separate adventure, but there's no reason why you can't pick this up as well. It's PDF. Again, it's on sale. I will put my affiliate link in for it, because this is just going to give you a adventure here about Octavius Shadowblade, who's the shrewd leader of the Cloaked Hands Thieves Guild. And as luck would have it, I need a Thieves Guild for my Hex Crawl. So that has landed quite perfectly for me. And this is the other good thing about WFRP and all the incredible writers and talents on here. If you are going to run things like Hex Crawls, there's so much stuff on it. So I've managed to fluke by going through this and then realistically advertising another adventure, which is quite smart. You know, there's a lot of, well, actually, Chaosium do it all the time. You know, you will buy an adventure for Warhammer Fantasy, and it tells you in bold the book that you now need to go and buy to get the stats. So we're used to this. For a smaller publisher, great plan. Also helps people like me to go and look and find other things. So I will be picking up the Den of Madness to sort of, because hey, I need it for my Hex Scroll campaign that I'm running on my Discord. Anyway, back to the review. So it then will, you know, obviously you've got a little bit of a combat, and I think that is the end of part 1, the way it's meant to do, because part 2 then it will show you the tower, which we've already seen in the handout, and then it talks about getting to the tower. It takes about 5 days to get there. Doesn't detail how they get there, but that's then up to the players on how they get along. And then you will get into the tower. The tower is pretty much sealed, so it's going to be very difficult to climb into. But there is one entrance where they're going to walk up a plank of wood to get in, which obviously could be a little bit dangerous for them to go through. And this is where you can tell it's a non-ShadowDark in writing style, because it's got how will the crawlers get in and gives you 4 options. And this game does this a few times. It gives players, well, it gives the games masters options of what the players should do. Never give players options. Well, I'm not saying never. You know, if they're stuck, give them options. But I'd be inclined just to sort of keep quiet and let the players decide how they get in. Each room, nicely detailed. The maps are really helpful. The players can go up and down because there is a basement as well. And it will take you nicely to the kitchen. All the creatures in there. It's a living tower as well. So it does let the games master know where the creatures will be at certain times of the day, which is quite nice. We've got this little card game gone badly here, as you can see by the goblin here lying dead on the floor. That's the only room in here that isn't quite living, because that will happen regardless. But the rest of them, they're moving around, and you got like here percentage chances of where goblins may or may not be across different rooms. Then eventually they'll get to the top, they'll meet with the other wizard in here, and it gives you a couple of options on how to run the wizard, which I actually appreciate. This is quite good, because it's going to give the players a different option on how to complete the adventure, okay? And it will also gives quite a good information dump. The players will find the locations of the other 10 rocks, stones in this man's library, but whether they can translate it or not is a different matter, and that's quite good, because I like the way it's been done. And say it's a variety of things, and then at the end, you've got this success and XP. So again, like Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, it gives out XP for achieving things, as which obviously is slightly different to ShadowDark. And you're also going to get your XP for your money. But it gives you 3 different scenarios to end with, again, like Warhammer tends to. So it's a nice familiar feeling for me, as opposed to some ShadowDark adventures where you get a few lines and then it's up to the games master to create. So this is a nice, easy beginner adventure, well, and obviously going to lead into a campaign. We're then going to get the full details of all 12 of the stones and what they do, and then you get nicely all the monsters and NPCs at the end of the book, and you don't have to go and dig into it. And this amazing artwork here. For the wizard, was it Armand? And then, you know, back of the book, and then Call for Adventures is here. It doesn't actually do the advertising for the next one yet, so I don't know when it's out. But this is great. I say for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplaying fans that want to get into ShadowDark, it's a great adventure, because if you're old enough to have ran that first campaign, it's different. From the bits I can remember, it starts differently, but it's also interesting because it's going to be very familiar. If you're a ShadowDark games master and you want to pick up a nice, easy module because you're worried about not having enough information or guidance on how to run a starting adventure, this is probably a great jumping off point for you, because you don't really have to worry about the hex crawling element of things either. You can just move on the 5 days, have the food and rations. If you're more experienced and you're comfortable with ShadowDark rule, you can put that in. And 5 days is a lengthy travel, and that's going to require a lot of torches, a lot of rations and food. So a lot of things can go wrong. Get in there. So just bear that in mind, because this is a first, second level adventure. So if you're a little bit worried about random campaigns derailing the main campaign, either reduce the time to get to that tower, or, you know, well, you're going to have to reduce the time because you can't cheat dice rolls, because if you start cheating dice rolls, that's a pain. So that I suppose now I think about it, that 5 days is probably showing more where the writers maybe are coming into ShadowDark without as a huge amount of experience on how ShadowDark works, because say 5 days adventuring is quite a lengthy go across, but say it's nice, you could just streamline it. It does talk about it in there. I'd play it properly, hence the reason I'd probably bring it down to 2 or 3 days, just because of torches, because first level characters are unlikely to afford a donkey or something like that just to carry things on. But that's not a criticism really of the adventure. As much as it sounds like it, I really like it. I know that it's built into a bigger thing, which is good. It gives it gives the players, well, 3 distinct options on which side they go with. You know, do you go with the old man? Do you go with the new wizard? Or do you go somewhere else yourself? It gives lots of hints and tips throughout. It has got that weird thing of, here's some random people attacking them, we don't know why. Go and read this other book. But I can forgive that. I can also forgive the 5 days travel, because realistically it does sort of say, because if you are going to run this as a true ShadowDark adventure, you say probably reduce the time down. If not, I think you just go with the sort of 5 days travel and make it you could make it a really safe travel route anyway, because it's outside a city and, you know, it's a safe route through. If you're playing Warhammer and you want this to be a Warhammer world using ShadowDark, which has been talked about with other things of, you know, whether we can convert it, great jumping off point. But make those roads a little bit more deadly and give the players a chance to discover the world, throw some goblins, throw some chaotic creatures at them. But yeah, love this. This is a great first discovery from, for me, a new publisher, which was, I'm going to get it wrong again. I know I am, so I don't know why I've said this, Legend of Talik, I think. Looking forward to reading some of that. I picked up another one from them, which was a sort of adult horror adventure set in I think it's like a cinema theatre type thing. So that looks quite interesting. And if it's as good as this, maybe the review might come considerably quicker. But if you've enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. If you're going to pick this up, please do consider using my affiliate link. And if you've played the original Doomstone campaign and you're excited to see Bloodstones, the conversion into Doomstone, just drop it down in the comments below. And I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching.